think our last two members are on the way, but if you want to go ahead and start, please feel free
Yeah.
to.
All right. Well, my name is Amy Over. My maiden name was Evans, and I was a senior in high school when I went through Columbine. Um, April 20th, 1999. Actually, Michelle and I both were seniors at the time. And I guess I'll just dive into a little bit about my story. I played basketball, and Dave Sanders was my basketball coach, and he was the coach that was shot and killed that day. I went in and he got me a basketball scholarship the day before, and I was super excited because I finally figured out like what college I was going to go to. And I was kind of, figuring all that out. But I went in and basically got to have like a last conversation with him and just gave him a big hug. And he said he'd come watch me play and said, "Love you, coach," and gave him a hug. And little did I know that that was going to be one of the last times I saw him. But around 11:15ish, I went down into the commons area, and pretty quickly after I got into the cafeteria commons area, we started hearing a lot of commotion outside. And then I ran to the windows and kind of was like looking out and figuring out what's going on. And our coach, Dave Sanders, he told us to get away from the windows and get down. So I ran to a table kind of by one of the front entrance doors and was under a table with one of my peers, and we were gripping each other, holding on to each other. I couldn't breathe. It got really quiet. And then I looked over at my coach, and he told us to run. And then I decided to go out that front entrance door, and thank God the perpetrators weren't there. But we were getting shot at as we were running out. And I ran to safety as fast as I could and ran. A bunch of us pushed our way into a stranger's home, and I hid under their coffee table. And I later, when I did my podcast, I actually got to meet that nice man that let me into his house. So that was pretty kind of a full circle moment. But yeah, I mean, and then later on that day, I found out that Dave Sanders didn't make it. That he had bled to death in the science room. So that was really, I mean, just one of the toughest moments of my life. So.
My name's Michelle Wheeler. Like Amy said, I have a dog that's going to be coming in and out of the chute with me. I was a senior, same as Amy. Kind of when Amy got out is when my story began. I was upstairs in the choir room, which is right above the cafeteria and across the hall from where the library is. And we heard a rumbling of kids or sound coming up the staircase, and someone came through the choir doors and said someone has a gun. Senior pranks were happening, and that day we had actually planned a senior prank to shoot freshmen with water guns. And so the seniors kind of laughed, and then the door opened and there was a blood handprint on the wall, and we all just took a deep breath in. There were about 110 of us in that classroom. 60 of them ran into a very small, probably a 5 by 8 foot room, an office, and barricaded themselves in there. I ran with about 40 through double doors on the opposite side of the classroom and barricaded myself in the auditorium, which was directly in the middle of the school. The teachers, I had 2 teachers in that classroom. One teacher fled the scene and left the building. The other teacher followed us in and barricaded the doors that led to the cafeteria. We could hear all the sounds. Fire alarms were going off. They told us to get away from the doors because we could hear gunfire by the doors, the double doors from the hallway. And so we came down, and I laid on 2 freshmen in an aisle. I am 5'11", and these 2 were probably maybe 5 foot. and they told us we were going to run in groups, and we were one of the first groups to run. So we exited out of the other side, so that would have been the north side of the school into the North Hall. And we walked through two doors, and I stopped and I looked to my right and I saw the doors to the outside. They were glowing white. And I looked to my left and I saw a boy in black pants, white shirt, black suspenders. He had cylinders up and down his suspenders, and he had a sawed-off shotgun pointed at my head. And he said, "On your marks, get set, go." And I ran and dragged those freshmen with me. About 96 bullets passed my body in that short hallway. As I was running, Frank DeAngelis came out of his office, and something caught the gunman's eye, and he stopped shooting and he turned around. And unfortunately, that is from the accounts of the FBI and Amy's podcast, I learned that's when Dave Sanders got shot. So if Dave had not come up, I don't know if I would have been here. One of the shots that he did ring off hit a pipe bomb around the door, and the ricochet came off and hit me in the back of the leg. When I got out of the school, I kind of stopped, and there was a teacher named Kiki who was like, "Nope, keep running." And we ran to the park. I got in a Volkswagen bus with a bunch of people, and we were going to go back to the school and pick up as many people as we could, but they wouldn't let us. My next memory would be being dropped off at a Catholic private school that my boyfriend at the time attended. I had blood splatter all over my shirt, all over my face. Someone next to me had gotten shot, I think in the arm or the hand. So I had their blood everywhere, and I had blood on my leg that was mine. And I walked into their main office and I was like, "I need to see Alex." So that went over really well with that school. And then I remember waking up in their church and then waking up on a park bench watching my boyfriend play whatever sport he was in, and then reunited with my family later that evening. My family, I'm the baby of seven. Five of my siblings were there, or three of my siblings were there, and my mother was there. And my mother is a boomer who, that generation, we don't talk about mental health. We don't address, nothing's a problem. We're all fine. And she met me at the door with a handle of Jack in her hand and said, "We're never going to talk about this day. If you talk about it, you're allowing the perpetrators to win." And bless that sweet little Mexican heart of hers, she has never talked about Columbine. Hennessy, you're fine. He's never talked about Columbine. She does not know my story. She does not want to know. And moving forward through my recovery, I did not have family support because none of my siblings ever asked either. So I had to do a lot of my recovery on my own.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing that. Going back to what you just said, actually, just talking about mental health, how you've sort of processed that since April 20th. I know that Amy, on your podcast, you talked about it a little bit too, just how, people were saying, get over it, like it's time to move on. If you both wouldn't mind just speaking to that a little bit, how you've, I don't know if reinvented yourself is the right word, but found identity in the healing. We'd really appreciate it if you don't mind speaking to that a little bit.
This is, and Frank DeAngelis always, our principal, said that, this is a marathon and not a race in our recovery. And so that has kind of been I kind of go with that motto and have for the past 25 years. I did not want to get help immediately following the shooting. My mom made me go to therapy. We got 6 counseling sessions after the Columbine shooting because we weren't really considered like victims. They just gave us all 6 counseling sessions and said, good luck.
What did you do in that counseling session?
Oh, well, let me just tell you that I threw the vase at the
Hmm.
counselor and shattered it. And I got kicked out of therapy that first time because I was so angry. I had so much anger, and I was enraged that this happened to me because there was pre Columbine Amy, and then there was post,
Hmm.
Amy, and your life is never the same. It's just different.
Yeah.
So I didn't go and get help until I met my husband at 19, and he kind of took me under his wing and took care of me, and he was like, "You're a mess and you need help." And I started going to a therapist that actually used to be a counselor at Columbine, and his name was Gary Borgeson, and he has since passed away, but he was kind of on the forefront of EMDR therapy. So that's kind of when I started EMDR. I've tried every therapy known to man. I've done goat yoga. I've done brain spotting. I've tried, I mean, you name it. I've tried it all. Talk therapy and EMDR, and those have been really successful for me. And I don't have nightmares anymore, or not as frequent. So it has been really successful for me. It still hurts though on anniversaries, and I'll still get choked up sometimes when I share my story, and I'm never fully healed, but I'm never going to get over this. Like my mom told me to get over it. And that really stung and really sucked when she told me that I needed to get over it. But like Michelle said, our families, I mean, they kind of wanted to brush it under the rug. Now, my dad, he was supportive, and we actually talked about Columbine quite a bit, and he listened, and he was not like right away, but he was supportive like later on in life, about Columbine. So that I did have some support there, but my family doesn't really talk about it. So it's kind of hard, but my kids, my daughter and I marched together in 2018, I believe. We marched together, and that was a really pivotal, powerful moment because she's 19 years old now, and you guys are the next generation, and I hate
Hmm.
that this is the world that we live in, but um, I it's something we've got to focus on mental health. I really think we've got to focus on mental health, and we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. My recovery, a little bit different than Amy's. I did not go to therapy right away. I thought everything was fine. I went to college in downtown Denver. First day of campus, started realizing that my heart was racing. I didn't really understand. I was very angry. I was either numb or angry. I didn't understand um, why people looked at me when they said, "Where'd you go to high school?" I learned really quickly not to say Columbine because then the questions would come. And, now that I'm an adult and have been asked those questions a million times, I know that it's out of innocence, and mostly it's out of innocence and just wanting to understand. But it's some of the questions that were asked, it hit wrong. There was one day where I'm in class, I'm half paying attention, and they turn on the TV, and the tower is struck. It's 9/11, and our country's under attack. And I thought, well, we're all going to die now. Had a panic attack, didn't understand, um, and really just left school and didn't return. I had been working and playing semi-pro soccer, throwing myself into the sport, hoping and praying that it would make me feel different. I thought that would be my therapy. And the whole time playing and trying to fix myself without mental health support, I was banking painkillers, all different kinds of painkillers. And I came to the realization about year 3 that this was not for me, and I cannot continue life feeling nothing. I can't be angry all the time. This isn't what it's supposed to be. I saw no future for myself. And so I had made a decision to take my life in the parking lot of the soccer arena that I coached and played at and refed at. That night, I played in 2 games and had 2 games to ref. The last game was a bunch of alumni from Columbine who had graduated before me. And there was a guy who played on the team who in high school, um, I had a crush on. He was a senior when I was a freshman. He thought I'd be cute when I grew up because I was 15 and he was 18, and that's called statutory rape. And so he was on the team, and I always look forward to reffing his games. And that night, he asked me out on a date. And I finally felt something different, and I decided not to go through with my suicide and go on a date. And 24 years later, we're married with a kiddo living in the Columbine area. Um, After that date, I started realizing that there are more feelings. I want to try and fix this. He also said, girl, you need to figure this out. And I started going to therapy. Probably about year 4 is when I started. I did EMDR, both in the office, and then they took me into the school. And we did EMDR throughout the school where we walked my path. They put me in EMDR. It's like a movie theater in your head. They'd pull me out and they'd say, what do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste? We'd go through it. We'd process it. We moved to the next section. It was extremely powerful. It was extremely hard. Um, I don't, I, you have to be in a certain mental state to be able to do that. But it was so valuable to help me realize that the 2 perpetrators are the ones that hurt me, not the building, and that I can have some control over my body and my feelings. And I have been in and out of therapy. I've done EMDR 3 times for the last 24 years, 23 years. And it's been a journey. I've had other suicide um, thoughts, not have gone through with them and recognized it when it happened and took actions to help myself. Frank was right. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. We will never get over it. We will never forget that day. We will never forget the sounds and tastes and smells. I know the sound of a bullet coming to you and going away, it sounds different. The smell of it. But that's not to say that every day I think about that. I've taken my story and my experiences, and I've turned to help other survivors and walk their path and help them start their recovery path and start talking about suicide, and that it's not a scary subject, and that it happens all the time in everybody's life. Everybody has a story of some sort of suicide, and just having those conversations has helped a lot of people realize that there's more to, there is life after trauma. I tell parents that I work with, your child before the shooting is dead now, and you now have a new child. You have to mourn the child you had, and you have to know and grow and love the child that you have now. And that's the same for Amy and I. We've both had to mourn the people we were before, understand the new people that we are, and accept and love the good, the bad, the dark humor. Not every day is bad. Some days suck, but not every day is bad.
Yeah. And I think Michelle and I, and I can't speak for Michelle, but the conversations that we've had, I think it was hard when we both became moms. When, Michelle's daughter went to Columbine High School, and that was extremely hard for her sometimes. My daughter, I had started having panic attacks when she went to her first day of kindergarten. or
Yeah.
preschool. She went to first day of preschool. I ended up in the hospital because I didn't know what a panic attack looked like, and I found out real quick that I was having a panic attack, and then I started having that panic disorder for about almost 2 years, and it was pretty
Mm.
debilitating. I don't have panic attacks anymore, but I mean, man, that was a really rough time in my life, and
Yeah.
it correlated to my fear of sending my daughter off to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both for speaking to that. I know that here, obviously we focus on the legislative side of gun control and stuff like that, but we also put a pretty big emphasis on the mental health side of things. Because we do think it is a two-sided problem. I really appreciate you guys talking about, it's not something that you ever really get over. Like you said, it is a path to healing. So if you guys wouldn't mind speaking about what you guys do at Survivor's Path a little bit, we would appreciate that, because I would assume it has to do with, mental health outreach and things along that line.
So Michelle and I have worked together for many years at another organization called the Rebels Project. And I was their director of fundraising, and Michelle did a lot of outreach with, just
All
different
the different
survivors
communities.
and in the community and stuff. And I did a lot of public speaking and stuff. But after my mom passed away, I decided to step away from the Rebels Project, not because of anything bad or anything. I still, respect the work that they're doing. And I kind of sat on it for a moment, and I thought I was done sharing my story. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not done sharing my story, and I'm not going to be quiet. And I'm not going to, be silent. And I'm not going to, there was a lot of things that I couldn't talk about, being in another organization. So I started Survivor's Path, and I called Michelle and I was like, do you want to be a team with me? And then we talked to our friend Amber, and then we also talked to our friend Haley, and just decided that we were going to start Survivor's Path, and we were going to be a public speaking company that goes around and speaks our truth about trauma. And we, like Michelle said, like there's no holds barred. Like, we will talk about suicide, we will talk about gun control, we'll talk about, you name it, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the nitty gritty, the ins and the outs, the ugly, the good, the positive that comes out of a trauma. And really about resiliency and how to get through this. And we're a new company, and we would eventually like to have a nonprofit on the side of it. But currently, if we get proceeds, they end up going to another organization like the Rebels Project or the I Love You Guys Foundation. We'd like to donate to them. And the 720 Foundation, they do amazing work here in Colorado. So that's our goal is once we, if we get like a stipend for public speaking, then we donate the proceeds to mental health awareness. And, we would eventually like to have our own nonprofit that we could pay for people's mental health, because it is not affordable. As you guys probably know, that mental health in this country sucks. It does not, it's expensive. It's hard to get a therapist and, medications and support, and it's a lot, and it's really expensive. So we would like to pay for people's mental health journeys is our goal. But like I said, we're just a group of survivors that want to talk about trauma and how it's changed our lives for the good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We totally agree. Fights from us. We do have about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
But if there's anything else you guys want to add, we're more than happy to hear it. You guys have any questions?
What else if you guys have any questions, let us know.
I do have a quick one. Just if you could speak a little bit about what EMDR is? We don't know a ton about it, but really quickly, if you don't mind just telling us about
Yeah.
how that works a little bit.
EMDR is eye movement desensitization reaction, and basically, it turns your brain into a movie, is to best describe it. And so they put you in they use either rhythmic touching through your hand, or you'll wear headphones, and it's a pulsing beat that puts your nervous system at ease and allows you to open up doors within your subconscious to process the trauma. So if you can imagine a trash can full of crumpled paper. So each trauma, each experience, each moment of our path out, we've taken that, crumpled it up, and thrown it in the trash, and eventually it overflows. And so what EMDR does is they go through that trash can, they unravel every piece of paper, they flatten it out, you process it, you put it back in the trash can. And so eventually, once you've worked through all of the trauma and you've processed it, you understand your triggers, you understand why your body responds certain ways. Your trash can still has all of that trauma in it, but it's flat and it's been processed. Does that make sense? And
It
so
definitely, yeah, yeah. No, go ahead. I'm
so
sorry.
what they'll do, yeah. So and it can happen. It's not in all one session. It's can take a couple sessions to a year or longer. It depends on your ability to tap into your trauma. It depends on the ability of the therapist. When we work with survivors, we tell them, one, date your therapist. And I don't mean that in a sexual way, but not every therapist is going to be the best fit for you. And if you don't feel comfortable, it's okay to part ways and find someone you do feel comfortable with. Find someone who has that trauma background, that knows how to give you the grounding techniques that you will need when you are triggered. Find a counselor who you are not their first 150 patients of EMDR. You want someone who is seasoned in the practice, because it's a very vulnerable moment. You come out and it's like you've been in a surround sound movie theater with your trauma on all the screens around you. And then you come back to this world and you're just like, what just happened? And it can take a couple days after a session to kind of get your psyche back to normal. But it's extremely powerful, because if you don't process your trauma, eventually your body will give you clues of things are wrong. It'll affect your sleep, it'll affect your food, it'll affect your metabolism, it'll affect your health. And so this is a way for your body to process it. You don't forget the event, which I think a lot of people think EMDR will just make you magically forget everything. But it helps you just process every screenshot of your trauma.
Yeah, that obviously, we don't know a ton about
That's
the
okay.
methods like that. So thank
I
you
hope
for
you never have to have it.
well, thank you. But yeah, thank you so much for speaking to that. And again, I just want to thank you guys for coming to talk to us.
Yeah.
We are, like you guys, just starting out here on campus, and we're very eager to learn more about, especially the mental health side of things,
Yeah.
and just what we can do moving forward. Because, like you said, we are the next generation, and with the recent inauguration and a lot of stuff coming forward, we are just happy to help and do what we can. So thank you
Absolutely.
guys
And
so much.
let me
Yeah, go
know if
ahead.
you guys want us to put you on our website. Any way that we can support your mission and what y'all are doing, I think
Mhm.
would be amazing too. So
Right.
keep
Yeah.
us in the loop, and maybe we can, I don't know, like Michelle and I plan on traveling a lot this year, and maybe we could come down and speak to you guys, in person. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I
No,
mean,
yeah, we'd be honored to have you guys if you're ever down here in Georgia.
yeah, yeah,
Hopefully it'll be a
definitely.
lot warmer when y'all are
Yeah.
down here. But yeah, I'll definitely be in touch with you guys. We appreciate you so much,
That's good.
just for
Thank you for the
speaking
work
on your
you're doing.
experience. Of course, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Um, well,
We
we
all
will let
got to work
you.
together.
Yes, ma'am. That's the truth.
We all got to
Um,
work together.
Well, we will let you guys go, but I will definitely be in contact with y'all further about, ways we can help you. And if you're ever, like I said, in Georgia, feel free to come
Okay.
on down.
Okay,
All
we love
right.
it.
Stay
Thank you
warm.
so much.
Yes,
Stay
ma'am.
warm.
Thank you
All
guys so
right.
much.
You're
Bye
welcome.
bye.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.